Am I wrong for taking my daughter out of the country without telling her dad? I took my daughter 10 to France for a week. We're from UK for a holiday. She missed no time from school and it didn't affect her contact with her dad. We have a child arrangement order and legally I'm allowed to take my daughter anywhere without permission or notice as long as it doesn't affect the contract. I also checked with the solicitor. When I booked the holiday, I sent a WhatsApp message to my daughter's dad to tell him I was taking her on a holiday. I gave the dates, the location, and travel details. I know he has me blocked on WhatsApp, so I knew he'd never see the message. I knew if he knew, he'd kick off and try to ruin our holiday. I know I'm not legally obliged to tell him about our holiday, but I thought it would help the situation if I could say, well, I did send him the details. Anyway, we get to France and we're having a great time. My daughter decided to call her dad for a chat. I told her she can tell him whatever she likes. It's up to her if she tells him we're on a holiday. But I did warn her that he probably doesn't know and might be unhappy. Partway through the call, she mentions we're in France, and he goes ballistic. Screaming, shouting, he demanded to speak to me. I got on the phone but couldn't get a word in for all of the screaming, so I ended the call. He starts blowing up mine and my daughter's phone, demanding we return to the UK immediately. He was threatening to have me arrested for child abduction. I calmly sent him a message stating we are on a holiday, we'll be home before he is due to see his daughter and that his daughter is happy, healthy, and enjoying a holiday. I told him that he's welcome to call and text her, but to please stop screaming and shouting as it is distressing her. He texted me back calling me an asshole, saying that he'll see me in court. So, am I the asshole?
Weekly reminder, if he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to, he would. I was telling my boyfriend that I got my period this morning, and one thing about me is I get really bad cramps. Like, I actually almost had to get taken to the ER once. So I always have to have, like, ibuprofen or Midol or something. So he was like, oh, I'm sorry, babe. Like, do you have Midol? I said, no, I just ran out, but I have ibuprofen. So I had just taken, like, 3 of those. And he knew. He remembered that ibuprofen doesn't really work as well for me. Like, Midol's what I need. So a few minutes later, he randomly said, I'm sorry, you're out of Midol. And I was like, oh, it's okay, babe, like I'll survive. And then like 20 minutes goes by and he goes, go check your doorstep. And I was like, I swear to God, if this man sent me my doll. But I was wrong. AZT, because it's my favorite. Not 1, 2. Doritos Dynamite, because he's always eating them and I always like take all of them because they're so good. My favorite flavor of Ben & Jerry's, the half-baked one, is coconut Red Bull because it's my favorite energy drink, which I'm drinking right now. And of course, my doll, which he researched and found out that the gel capsules work better, which I've never had. I didn't even know they made gel capsules. And this is not the first time that this has happened, mind you. Last weekend, we were going to like this lake day party and we had to get up like very early to meet everyone in like some parking lot and follow everyone there. The night prior, I had mentioned to him, I was like, oh, my flowers are dying because he had got me flowers a few days before, just as like a passing comment. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. In the morning of, we were talking on the phone and I was still like half awake because it was like 7 a.m. I was talking about watermelon because I had a dream about watermelon for some reason. It just sounded like so good. And then he made a comment. He was like, you're out of caffeine, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am. And he was like, I know you. You're gonna need caffeine today. True. But I was like, it's fine. Like, I'll live. I'll figure something out. And then before he got to my house to pick me up, he calls me and he's like, go check your doorstep. Same thing. This is what shows up at my doorstep that morning. Huge thing of watermelon, coconut Red Bull, and flowers. There was also a time we stayed up till like 4 in the morning talking and we were on the phone and I was like, oh, I'm hungry. Like I just mentioned to him I was hungry. This man sends me enough IHOP breakfast to feed a family at 5 in the morning just because I said I was hungry. And he also got me both orange juice and apple juice because he said he didn't know which one I would want. Some more things my boyfriend has done for me that have shot my standards through the roof. When I tell you guys this man is the definition of princess treatment. So to give you guys some context, one of his best friends, Caleb, is dating one of my best friends, Rachel. So the 4 of us hang out all the time and we're like a friend group. But one evening I get a call from my boyfriend and he's like, hey, don't eat dinner tonight. I'm sending you dinner. And I was like, what? Why? Like, you don't have to do that. I just stuck that up my nose. And he was like, no, I wanted to. I just wanted to surprise you. I'll call you as soon as it gets there. And then he calls me like 20 minutes later and he's like, hey, food's here. Like, go outside and go get it. And I was like, okay. So I walk out my front yard. It scared me so bad I jumped. There's actually a video of it if you guys want to see because Caleb and Rachel were sitting in the car videoing it. He was standing at my door with a beautiful bouquet of flowers and he's like, surprise, go get ready. We're going on a double date. Caleb had done the same thing for Rachel and surprised her with flowers. So the 2 of them surprised us with a whole night. They had dinner reservations for us, so we all went out to dinner, and then they bought movie tickets for the 4 of us, so we all went out to go see a movie. And then this one was actually 2 days ago. Caleb and Rachel just had their first month anniversary like the day before, and then the day of was our month anniversary. They picked up Rachel, picked up me, took us to an aquarium. We had a double date there. Then after that, they took us to the other side of town. We went to candle chemistry and we made custom candles. They planned out the whole day. Like, you know when a guy's like, oh, I'll pick you up at 8, and then he's like, hey, what we doing? Like, this is a tip for the boys. All your girl wants in life is for you to plan a date for her and surprise her and be like, yeah, I got a plan. That's just, This man writes me poetry. Exhibit of affirmation are my love language, and he's like an incredible poet, so I am like, and then there's more. So the other day we were talking on the phone. He was like, how are your flowers doing? Because he got me flowers a few days before, and I was like, they're dying. And he was like, what? How? I just got you new ones. I think it's because I've been gone the whole weekend, and like my window's been shut, so they didn't really get sunlight. This text I sent to my best friend of what he said back to that. He said, well, I gotta get you new flowers then. And I was like, oh, you don't have to do that. And he said, no, the day you don't have fresh flowers in your room is the day I must be dead, because you'll always have fresh flowers as long as you're with me. This man was written by a woman. Yesterday morning, I was fast asleep. I get woken up from a call from him, and he was like, hey, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like pretending like I was awake because it was kind of late. And I was like, oh my god, hi, like, how are you? And he was like, come outside. I looked like dog shit. I had just woken up. I threw on some sunglasses and I walk outside. He drove to my house to give me these with the vase because he was like, oh, it's fall colored. I thought it would go good in your room. These are like the most beautiful flowers I've ever seen. Like, what? And he was like, I told you I'm not letting you go without flowers. And he was like, okay, go get ready. You told me you wanted to cuddle and watch a movie soon, so that's what we're doing. He also has never let me touch a door handle, ever. And this is another princess treatment thing. Every time I shower and I'm like brushing my hair, he's like, wait, stop. And then he makes me give him the brush because he wants to brush my hair for me. Anyway, this man needs some type of award. We love this man.
The day has finally come. Here is the story about how I met my boyfriend. Ooh. Mind you, this story is from almost 3 years ago. I was stupid, crazy, and dumb, but here we go. This was my sophomore year of college. I had a boyfriend. I knew him from high school. He went to University of Miami, and we got the call about COVID, so obviously we started dating. Fast forward December of my junior year, I went to dinner with one of my friends, and then there was a club upstairs. I don't know why, but this night I decided to get absolutely obliterated. Like, I mean, it was bad. I was like a loyal as fuck girlfriend. Of course, this weird guy walks up to me and he's like, hey girl. And me with a boyfriend, I'm like, excuse me, get the fuck out of my face. This guy was like making out with like 2 girls at the same time. And he was like, you're gonna be my girlfriend one day. And I was like, I don't think you know who the fuck you're talking to, number 1. Number 2, I have a boyfriend. Number 3, back the fuck out of my face. But I was taken, so I was like, get out. And I told this man, I was like, I have a boyfriend. He was like, just because there's a goalie doesn't mean you can't score. I mean, is that the cringiest fucking sentence you could ever get as a girl? I mean, yeah, it is. It is. I walk away from this guy and he's like, what's your name? I'm like, Xandra. Whatever. And then I go back to my then boyfriend's house. And I'm just talking to him, have a good time. I literally didn't even bring it up because it was no big deal. Like, I had never seen this guy before once in my life. Fast forward after Christmas break. My boyfriend and I at the time were just really not doing well. We were just like a COVID relationship, and it's just like, I'm very outgoing, he wasn't very outgoing. It wasn't working. That's the best way to say it. I don't know. This is around the same time that all the new guys that are transferring to the school or are freshmen are rushing. Of course, my boyfriend was like part of the frat, so I was a part of it. They're going through all the PowerPoints of all the guys that are rushing, and I look at the screen, I'm like, holy fuck. That's the guy that was hitting on me. I mean, this guy was like so gross in my mind. I was like, whatever. This guy ends up getting into the fraternity. When I mean, he went to the school and I mean, I just heard story. He was balling out. Like, gross. Ew. So, ew. And me and my then boyfriend end up breaking up. Like I told you, it was on the rocks for a minute there. He broke up with me. That's the first time I've ever been broken up with. It was like an utter shock. How could you? What? Literally went into hiding when we broke up, and I didn't talk to anyone or really tell anyone what was going on. I'm like in this depression mode, and like at that point, my ex hooked up with someone else. He literally hooked up with a freshman the week that we broke up. That felt great. It was like so down bad, and then one of my friends texted me and they're like, there's a boat day. I was like, what do you mean there's a boat day? Of course I'm fucking going. So I end up going on this boat, and guess whose boat it is? The man's that was flirting with me. At this point, I'm heartbroken. I'm a mess. I'm crazy. I mean, I'm vibing on this boat and I start talking to that guy. And we're just going on back and forth, back and forth, back and forth banter. And then he's like, wait, you shouldn't. You have a boyfriend. And then I go, ooh. I go, funny because I actually don't. And he had hooked up with a girl last week. He was like, oh. If you know anything about Miami boat days, they get grimy. After I said that I was single, he literally goes, uh-oh. And then boob luges me 30 seconds after. If you know what that is, it's where you literally push your boobs together in a bikini and then someone like funnels beer. A true romantic love story, I know, right? So pretty much ever since that moment, we've been together. Started off, we were just like best friends. I would just cry about my ex and he'd like stare at me. It was like really weird. It was really weird, guys. I mean, at the beginning, I didn't take him seriously at all. I mean, he was just a disgusting frat boy. We're kind of talking, not talking. I was a mess about my ex. And then I had some really traumatic family stuff happen. Not gonna get into that. That's sad shit. I don't know. He was there for me when I needed him. So since then, we've pretty much been together except for a few on and off times. You know college. It gets crazy. But yeah.
Worst day I ever had. I low-key still have PTSD from this. I've not been able to go to the restaurant that this happened at since the day it happened. I'm traumatized. I believe this was 2018, either 2017 or 2018. He asked me on a date again. I think the second or third time I agreed to go on a date with him. I don't know what made me agree to this, but I kind of just felt like, you know what, you just never know unless you try. The guy says, we're going on a date, get ready, I'm going to take you to Duck and Waffle. I say, okay, fine. The day has come for the date and I've gotten queued. I'm just waiting for him to pick me up. He comes to pick me up and he's late. Red flag number one. I really should have just gone to bed at that point. By the way, this was a really late date night. It was like around 11. So he's come to pick me up. Everything's cute. He's a little bit of a gentleman. I was like, okay, yeah, this may be nice actually. Maybe it's good that I changed my mind. Wrong. He drives us to Duck and Waffle to have our very late dinner. We get there, it's super cute, we get seated. I would say the first half of the date was actually really nice. We got to talking, getting to know each other better. I thought it was kind of interesting. I think there were a couple things that we both enjoyed. So we eat a 3-course meal and then it gets to the end when we need to pay. Before I go further, to be fair to this guy, there was something going on with the banks. It was just how he handled this situation that just made me want to crawl under a rock and die. They brought our bill. His card isn't working. Then he says, okay, he's going to transfer money over, which I said, all right, cool, no worries. The second card isn't working. This goes on for about 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just pay for it. Initially, he's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Let me try sort this out. We stay there again for another 15 minutes. The waiter comes and is standing there with the card machine, literally staring at us like, where's the money? At this point, the embarrassment level for me is a 2 out of 10. It's embarrassing, but I understand what's going on, if that makes sense. The waiter sees that we're scrambling and calls his manager. His manager comes over and says, hey guys, we have another couple with a reservation on this table, so we're gonna need you to pay and leave. We say, yep, totally understand. We're just trying to sort out something with the bank. We're not sure what's going on. At this point, I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm going to my bank and I'm trying to move money across as well. What happens then? My card isn't working. Not because there's no money, but there's something actually wrong with the banks. The manager comes again and we tell him again, both our cards aren't working. We're not sure what's going on. Just give us a minute. I'm checking my account like I see this money is in there. So why is my card not working? And obviously he's doing the same thing. The manager comes over again. He's like, no, really guys, you need to leave and you need to pay. When this happens, I think this guy was thinking, nah, this guy doesn't know who I am. So this guy looks at the manager and says this. This is exactly what he said. Hey, yo, look, yeah. You see this watch? This is a 10K watch, yeah. See this watch, yeah? This is a 10K watch, yeah? See that car out there, yeah? It's a 90K car. That's my car. I bought that outright. You get me? Guys, the floor should have opened up and swallowed me in that moment. Then the manager's like, yeah, you see that car, that Porsche over there? That's mine. I was like, why is there a pissing contest going on and why am I in the middle of it? This manager is obviously sending shots. He's like, that's my Porsche and guess what? I can pay for my bill. I almost lost it, guys. I was like, oh my God. The floor should open up now and take me. I will be good. I'll be fine if the floor opened up and took me right now. Jesus. I couldn't handle the embarrassment. Bear in mind, this is a packed night in Duck and Waffle. There are a lot of people here. As they said, the other people are waiting for their table. They're watching too. At this point, my embarrassment level is on 5. Then the manager says, my security is going to escort you down to the cash point so you can take out money. Is that all right? Guys, the world should have frozen over in that moment. Being escorted out of Duck and Waffle to go get cash from the cash point whilst everyone's looking at us. Do you know how embarrassing that is? At this point, my embarrassment level was on 9. I'm still looking at my accounts to see what's going on. I'm transferring over my savings at this rate because I'm like, did a direct debit go out? Is that why it's not working on my card? Like, what the hell? We get to the cash point and we're not able to take out cash. Like, the machines aren't working. We went to 2 different machines. The security's escorting us to 2. And he had to walk us downstairs, walk through everyone. Everyone saw that we were being escorted out to go to a cash machine. Do you know how embarrassing that is? This guy starts flexing. See? You see? See, I told you. It's not me, man. It's the banks, man. I'm like, you know what? Let's go back upstairs and see what we could do. I don't mind staying there till my card starts working to pay. The security guard escorts us back upstairs so that we can strike up some sort of deal. Then they bring out a document to say that we're gonna leave a possession of ours. What do you think this guy does again? This 10K watch. So my guy's in there talking about how great his watch is and how they should be careful with his watch because it's a 10K watch. Did you know how much it was? Because I don't know how much it was. So he's signing this document to say he's going to leave his watch here. They've essentially given him a timeline of when he can pay back and still be able to collect his watch. As this is all happening, I'm still going back into my account. And I just said to them, you know what? Let me try one more time to see if my card works. So this guy goes to call the manager to say we want to try out another card again. I try my card again. Lo and behold, it works. Jesus actually had my back in this moment. At this point, he's actually already given his watch and signed the documents and things like that. So he calls over the manager for another pissing contest for something he hadn't paid for. This guy's carrying around the receipt like, hey, yo, boss, look, you see, we paid the bill. Roll me my watch. This guy then starts waving his hand in the air like he just came out of prison. Like this. Whilst people are looking. We finally leave without being escorted out this time. The entire car ride back to my house, this guy's just talking and I'm just livid. I was just thinking, bro, the way you're never seeing me again, you're actively not going to impress me by talking about your 10K watch. I don't like you now. He drops me back home and all I'm thinking is, I pray to God this man sends me the money back. Because if he doesn't, not only would I have gone on the worst day ever, I would have paid for that date. No. Got home, went to have a shower to wash off the embarrassment, and then I went to sleep. I woke up to find that he had texted me and sent me back my money, thank God. In his message, he's like, oh, that was nice, we should do it again. Do what? You'll never see me again. Would you think I'm in my right senses to go on a date with you again? Since then, when I've come across men that lead with their money, it's given me the ick instantly.
Am I the asshole if I confront my married church pastor about my feelings for him? First off, I love hearing your input in storytelling. Get ready for this one though. I, 26 female, have strong feelings for my pastor, 29 male. The problem is that he's married. He also happens to be my boyfriend's uncle. I would never ever hurt my boyfriend or my pastor's wife, but I feel like I can't hold these feelings in anymore. He's all that I can think about, and I feel like I'm going to explode every time I'm near him. Girl, we've never been flirtatious with one another or spoken outside of church and family gatherings. For the past 4 months or so, I absolutely cannot get him off my mind, and I have no idea why. Watching and listening to him every week definitely doesn't help, though. There's just something in his eyes, a kindness and compassion that I've never seen in a man. It may sound hypocritical, but the way he talks about God with the fire in his voice just melts my heart. That's exactly what I've always looked for in a partner, as this is one of the most important things in my life. I love my boyfriend and his entire family dearly. I know I would be risking so much if I told anyone about my feelings. I truly do love my boyfriend very much, and we've been through more together than most couples ever will. I know he would be devastated if I told him any of this. I also don't want to start drama or have any kind of tension at church. Those people are like family to me, and I don't want to lose any of them either. I'm not sure if the pastor feels the same way, but the way he looks at me and talks to me makes me feel like there's something there. I could just be delusional though, considering he loves his wife very much, and he has never implied that he feels anything for me in that way. I'm at a standstill. I wish I could make these feelings go away. I would never cheat on a partner or be a homewrecker. I'm just confused. Do I tell him how I feel and risk stirring up drama and awkwardness and losing my boyfriend, or do I keep everything to myself and hope the feelings go away? I'm leaning towards confronting him, but would that make me the asshole?
Should I tell the wife that I slept with her husband? I'm 24 female and the guy is 28 male. This is a bit of a complicated story. I met this guy a year ago through mutual friends, and we started having a brief sexual relationship where we hooked up a few times for about a month. He was friends with the guys we would all go out with on weekends. I initially was told that he had a wife in a different country, and nothing ever happened. Over time, he started confiding in me that they were actually broken up and going through a divorce. He made me promise not to tell anybody or his friends because it was embarrassing for him. I know this is a huge red flag. I was naive and I have since learned from this experience. So we started hooking up, and I fully believed during this time that he was single. After about a month, I found out that his wife was visiting him for the weekend. I was in total shock, called him out immediately and told him that he needed to confess to his wife. He told me that I didn't understand and that the relationship is complicated. I was traumatized from this event. I didn't think somebody could lie like this. I went to therapy for months, and it took me a long time to get over the guilt that I felt. Shortly after, I was located in another country for the last year, but I have since moved back. Last month, I went out with some friends, and he and his wife were both there, and I found out that she's moving to our country for him. He introduced us and acted like nothing was wrong. I almost had a panic attack and was shaking the whole time. She invited me to her birthday party this Friday. As again, there are some mutual friends. I'm not going, as I don't think it's right to see her and act like nothing happened. Should I tell the wife what happened? Her and her boyfriend are not as close with my friend group as I am, but they sometimes get invited to events. For context, I've been back for 3 months now, and that was the only time that I've ever seen them so far. I can't live knowing that they might be at future events, but if I tell her, everyone is going to know that I held this on for a year, and this all would likely cause serious trauma. The wife moved her entire life from another country here. I also refuse to stop seeing my actual friends just because he might be there. Can anyone please give me some advice?
Crashed this guy's car into a lake because he broke my heart. When I was in high school, I had a crush on this guy, but it was a guy that my brothers all hated and told me to stay away from multiple times. And one of my brothers in particularly really hated him because they played on the same soccer team and they were competing against the same spot. So it was this whole big rivalry bullshit thing. One day I was at a soccer game and I was sitting next to this girl and we were chatting, and I find out that it was the guy that I like's sister, and she was like, come to this party tonight, it's gonna be so fun. I was like, I don't know if my brother's gonna let me. She's like, I have an older protective brother too, just sneak out and come. So the house that this was at, the backyard backed up into the woods, and I saw that the guy I liked was out there. And him and I are kind of talking a little bit, and he realizes who I am, and he's like, you really shouldn't be out here talking to me, blah, blah, blah. And then my brothers figure out where I am, and it's this huge showdown, don't touch our sister, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I wasn't touching your sister, leave my sister alone, because then his sister showed up, and it was just this whole big blow up thing. But then he and I just started running into each other at school, and he started coming to my ballet classes, which I had ballet classes at the school, and he would kind of just come and watch them, which at first sounds a little creepy, but in my teenage heart I was like, oh my gosh, he likes me. This whole time we just keep going back and forth of if my brothers found out, they would not be happy, blah 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 blah. And he's like, I'm not really worried about your brothers, but maybe you should be. And it was kind of this back and forth thing, and we did fool around a little bit, but it never went anything too far, no full sex or anything. It's just this kind of secret sort of fling that we had going on, but not really anything. It was very confusing. But one day he invites me to his friend's party, and I'm like, okay, let's go, but only if you take me for a ride in your Mustang, which was his baby, his car that he loved more than anything, blah, blah, blah. He did end up taking me for a ride in his Mustang, but not a ride in his Mustang. And then there was a big soccer game before the party. Anyway, there's a big soccer game right before the party, and he ends up playing very well, but him and my brother get into it was a fist fight on the field. And I'm waiting at the party for him because I'm wanting to see what happened, what's going on. And we were supposed to kind of meet in the woods area again. And when I see him, he's and very intoxicated. And I'm like, hey, what happened? What's going on? And he was just being kind of mean. I'm like, this isn't you. Why are you acting like this? What happened on the field with you and my brother? He's like, oh, I might have said something to him about me giving you a ride in my Mustang and fogging up the windows. But I didn't say that exactly. What I said was worse. I'm like, why would you say that? Why were you trying to goad him? What was the whole point of this? Then he tells me that the whole point was to distract my brother, basically, so that he could get the winning goal, something really stupid. And he basically tells me that he was just using me this whole time, saying that would piss my brother off and distract him. And I should be lucky that it didn't go as far as it did, because he could have had sex with me, but he didn't, blah, blah, blah. And I was so stupid. I was like, I was in love with you. Like, why are you doing this? He's like, you can't be in love with me. Like, I'm not even a good guy. Like, you don't even know what love is. And I'm heartbroken. So I go up to his sister and I'm like, give me his keys. She's like, what are you doing? And I say, he broke my heart. I'm like, don't know what to do with all this pain inside me. And so I get in his car and I get it right up to the lake. Then I jump out and I crashed his car into the lake. And then it got so much worse.
Am I the asshole for telling my daughter-in-law what grandkids because she isn't giving me any? I'm a young mother-in-law. My son got married around 4 years ago. They've been trying to have a kid for a long time. She's infertile. We get along like water and oil, to make it simple. The best way that I've found to deal with her is to keep topics really neutral. We're basically the opposite in everything. The opposites attract isn't true in this case. Here's my biggest issue with her. If she sees me doing something she doesn't like or doesn't approve of, she'll drop the line, you better change or you won't see the grandkids. When it came out that she was infertile, it got so much worse. Some examples: I was eating junk food late at night and the line came up. I mentioned liking private school more than public, and again, that line pops up. I was going to vote for the Green Party, that line came up. It's every time. I've already talked to my son about it and to her directly. Now we were out for dinner and I was paying. The service wasn't the best, so I did a 15% tip instead of 20% or higher. She saw it and made the comment, you should be more generous or you won't see my kids. I snapped and I told her, what grandkids, since you aren't giving me any? She started crying and now my son is pissed and I'm wondering if I should apologize. Also, I know I'm going to get comments about adoption or IVF. They're against both of those since IVF isn't natural and adoption is buying a kid. All their words.
My boyfriend threw away my plants that costed hundreds of dollars. I can't stop crying. I know some people might think I'm being silly since plants aren't technically alive, but they were my babies and I'm just so heartbroken. I have been with my boyfriend for about 10 months now. About a month ago we decided to take the next step in our relationship and we agreed to move in together. My boyfriend's apartment was much smaller than mine, and my apartment overall was decorated much nicer and we spent more of our time there anyway. Therefore, my boyfriend has been in the process of moving into my place for the past couple of weeks. Everything had been going amazingly. I love my boyfriend, and seeing that he was ready to commit to our relationship to the point of living together made me feel so happy and secure. Well, I wish I had savored those feelings of security since they're all gone now. I can't believe my own boyfriend would do something like this and I'm so angry and frustrated. I used to work in my grandma's florist shop when I was a child up until I was 18. Ever since then I have had a passion for plants and plant care. My apartment is full of all of the different, lush, unique plants I have collected over the years. I like going to plant conventions and spoiling myself by buying an occasional, expensive rare plant. I loved my plants and they gave my apartment so much life and personality. When my boyfriend was first moving in, he would complain about how much time I would spend watering my plants, but I would just laugh his comments off thinking they were lighthearted jokes. I could have never guessed how annoyed he actually was with my plants, but I found out the other day when I unlocked the door to my apartment to find my place almost bare of all my plants. I'd say about 70% of my plants were missing, and I immediately began to panic thinking we had been robbed or something. I was crying and not thinking straight, and I began dialing 911 to report a break-in when my boyfriend walked out of the bedroom and found me before I called. He took the phone out of my hands and asked why I was freaking out. I gestured around me and said all my plants were gone. All he said was that he had done some housekeeping. I tried to take deep breaths as my boyfriend explained that he thought our place looked sort of girly all covered in plants, and that he cleared some of them up so he would feel more at home. I tried to keep my cool as I asked him why he removed the plants behind my back, and he admitted that he thought it would be easier. He said that he knew if he asked me directly about cleaning up some of the plants I would have been a pain about it. I took another look at my naked apartment and just crumpled to the floor. My boyfriend is usually so caring, but he just said I was overreacting and that this was his home now too and he was allowed to make changes before he walked away. I cried myself to sleep right there on the floor, and woke up in the middle of the night. I know they're just plants, I know, but they were my babies, I loved them. And now they're gone and all that's left in my place was my backstabbing boyfriend, and no pretty plants.